All right, welcome everybody to the second episode of the Realty Time podcast. Guys, the interview that I have going on today is incredibly exciting, and here's why. This is a guy that I've known for several years now, actually, and he is somebody who is not with my company, Keller Williams. You guys know me as a Keller Williams real estate agent. I've been in leadership. I help coach a lot of my agents. So I live and I breathe the Keller Williams mantra and the culture. And what I love about what I get to do on this show and then in several other avenues is I get to talk to agents from outside of our company, and I get to get the perspectives of how they came about and their origin stories and their all the things that they had when they were up and coming and they were growing into success and how they conduct business now. So the interviewee that I have going on today is a guy named Jim White. Jim is the broker owner of Empire Realty. Empire Realty is pretty much exclusive to Western New York. Actually, they've been expanding outside of the Rochester area and have several other offices in surrounding cities too. And they're up to, I believe he said about 110 to 120 agents. So Jim's really busy, and he's in production too. So he stays in production because he just loves the job of helping people sell real estate. And when you listen to the interview, here's what I learned about Jim. Jim cares so much about his clients and about his agents. It just radiates from him. So I learned a ton from Jim, and I hope that you all do too. So I'll see you after the interview. All right. Hello and good morning. Welcome to the second episode of the Realty Time podcast. I have an extremely special guest today, none other than the great, I almost just said great white shark, the great Jim White, broker, owner of Empire Realty, a local brokerage here in Rochester, New York. He's got the logo on his shirt. I'm going to let him introduce himself real quick. How are you today, Jim?
Wonderful. I just want to say that something's wrong with my camera. I'm not this fat.
Oh, I thought it was like, it looks cool on my end. So,
okay.
Jim, you got to do that upward angle. So it's looking down at you. It's like the skinny mirror of Zoom, right?
Oh, okay.
You're okay. You're okay. You look great.
Okay. Thank you.
So welcome. And again, thank you so much for being on the show today. The reason why I am excited is the reason why I'm excited to conduct this interview is most of the time, Jim, as you know, I'm interviewing Keller Williams agents and agents within our ecosystem. And I wanted to have an interview with you. I want to have this conversation with you because you're somebody who has plugged in to a lot of resources that our company has to offer. I've seen you at classes like Quantum Leap with the co-chairman of our board, Mo Anderson. You came to our market center a couple times for having classes and conversation. And you're somebody that is constantly plugging into resources and providing that for your agents as well. So that's why I'm pumped for this conversation.
Awesome.
All right. So without further ado, I just kind of want to dive right in. You are, so like I said in the introduction, you're the broker owner of Empire Realty. Tell us how that got started.
I was done with the franchise stuff, but let me just start with one other thing.
Yeah.
It is good to network with a different company. I'm not looking to recruit by doing this, I like to talk to Susan. We like to share ideas, and I do like Keller Williams. I have nothing against Keller Williams, and I just happened to start my thing 10 years ago, and I tell Susan, I go, it's my baby, It's like I don't want to give my baby away. So I think it's important. There's business for everyone, and you don't have to be mad or envious or anything of any other company or agent with it, whatever. You just got to work within what your goals are. So I don't think there's any problem with, our business through the MLS is very unique because you are sharing with competitors. And so I have a deal with Lucas. For the next 60 days, we're business partners, and then the deal closes, and why not network again for a while? But once we have those listings and buyers, we're all sharing. So I do think we all should, be professional and get along from company to company, and we shouldn't be enemies out there. There is business for everyone. So I appreciate you having me on, and it's fine that way.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Jim. And, we have a saying, we believe in a culture of abundance. And one thing that you just said really spoke volumes to that, is that there's enough business out there for everybody. We just got to share ideas on how to go get it. You said you started Empire 10 years ago. How many agents are you sharing your wealth of knowledge with nowadays?
I have 115 associates. We just opened in Syracuse. We have 4 agents in Syracuse and 111 on our roster locally.
Oh, great.
So it's going very good, better than I've ever dreamed of, put it that way. When I started, I didn't think it would, turn into this.
Yeah. So what made you think that, so you said you came from a franchise environment, you decided to start your own brokerage. What made you think it wasn't going to be as successful as it is today?
I just wanted to, after 25 or 7 years, it's like, well, I got my client base. Let me just do my own thing. I didn't even have any expectation of growing the company. So my wife is just walking in the door. If I tell you my story, she will probably puke because she's heard it. She's been there, done that. I'll give you the quick, whenever I sit down with a new agent or a person I'm interviewing, I ask them for their 10-minute bio, just to give them a chance to talk and me to shut up and hear where they came from. So you'll probably ask me that. So I'm just going to do in 10 minutes what got me from square one to here. How's that?
All right, let's hear it all.
So I was in the Navy I was like 22 years old after 4 years of the Navy, and they were trying to talk me into re-enlisting. And so I didn't go to college. I think the college people do move up the real estate food chain faster, maybe because they had business courses and psychology and some other good brain training. But the executive officer on the ship says, you should stay in the Navy. It's tough out there. It's tough out there. And I'm like, the writing was on the wall in the Navy. I was a second-class petty officer, and then you do that for X amount of years, and then you're a first-class petty officer, then a chief petty officer, and then then you get older and you get to retire when you're 38, making 18.5 a year or something fantastic like that, and with benefits. And I just didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew I didn't want to stay in the service. I was happy to do my 4 years, and I enjoyed it. I didn't enjoy the Navy telling me where I'm going to be. Well, we're going on a cruise here. We're going on we're going here. You got to be in this port and this port. I didn't like that. I want to, do what I want to do. So when I got out of the Navy, I was a machinist. And in 1983, the economy wasn't really hiring machinists. And so here's the fate story that Cheryl, I don't want Cheryl to.
She's going to hear it. There's no way to avoid it.
She's going to hear it. So I'm looking in the newspaper at the apartment in the M section for machinist. And the TV was on in the background, and a commercial came on that said, consult a realtor. I'm like, whoa, what's a realtor? So I go to the R section, and there's a local real estate office. Steve Babbitt had a little office, Babbitt Realty.
Yeah.
It said looking for a change. And I'm like, well, I guess. It was very close to where my apartment was on Empire. He was on Creek Street. And I started working there like when I was 23 years old. And just spent a couple of months there. He was kind of a one-man show. I thought I was going to be an assistant to a realtor. Then you find out, what it's a little more all about. I don't know if you know Vince LaCastro, but he has the hunt on Empire Boulevard. It was Century 21 at the time, and I bowled in the same league as Vince. And so I went to Century 21, and I spent 11 years at Century 21. So Vince was a great mentor to me because he was 13 years older than me. And they didn't have all the training and whatnot they have today, like Mark Seawick talked about in his interview with you. But I would try to anticipate the appointment. I would talk to Vince, and I'd be this is I'm going on this appointment, and let's kind of talk about what I'm, the buyer or the listing or whatever.
A lot of hands-on training, if you will, like a lot of one-on-one back and forth.
Right, to give me a little bit of heads up. But Century 21 had 8% franchise fee and 50-50 split. So after a decade, that got old.
Yeah,
But
I'll say they make it 40%
but
forever.
the 80s was different. The 80s is different than today. The broker also paid for your expenses back then. You used to do open house ads, and used to do Best Buy ads, and all the broker would pay for all that advertising,
all that print marketing that did a lot at that time.
Which we don't, it's so much has changed. So your broker was your mom and dad back then, because a brand new agent couldn't afford to do that advertising. But I know one of the questions that you're going to ask is, how did you get started and how did you get going? So in 1984, I made $900 in real estate with one closing. And then I had a couple more sales, but they didn't close in 94. So 1985 comes along, and Floyd Wickman came along. He was a trainer. Did you ever hear of Floyd Wickman?
I know the name, yeah.
Okay, he's still around, but he's quite a lot older now. That's 40 whatever years ago, 38 years ago. So I was floundering as a new agent, and back then it was cold calling. Cold calling was the ticket, and it would be a reverse phone book. It was the crisscross directory. You go to the crisscross directory, it's all paper, ladies and gentlemen.
Imagine that, a concept.
We would pull out a street. We would open up the crisscross directory and call a street. So you're calling a geographic area that you liked. And so after floundering for the first year, in May of 85, I got 5 sales in a month. And then I knew it was on me. It was on me.
Wow.
Okay. It was up to me. Because what Floyd Wickman said, you go into the office at 9 in the morning and don't leave till you get an appointment. So he goes, if you get an appointment at 9:15, take the rest of the day off. You're probably the top producer in your company that day. You were successful.
That's awesome.
If you can be successful in 15 minutes, take the day off. So a couple success stories from cold calling. And I know times are so different.
Right.
But these are things that just will never leave me. So I had a buyer. I worked at Empire Lanes bartending and make a couple bucks while you're a new. So there was someone from Empire Lanes that was looking to buy a house. And so I go, well, I think I'll cold call where he is looking, which was off Winton Road area. So I'm calling Balsam Street. You want to sell your house either now or in the near future? That's what phones looked like in the 80s. No.
As big as your fist.
Yeah.
Maybe more like this.
Hello,
Maybe two fists
Sarah?
together.
So I get this guy named Pete Bullard. Gosh, I remember it like yesterday. You want to sell your house? This is Jim at Century 21 All Square. You want to sell your house either now or in the near future? I got a buyer looking in the neighborhood. He goes, well, I got a double. Well, I got a single guy. I don't think he'll care if it's a single or a double. And I go, by the way, do you know Gretchen Bullard? I went to school with Gretchen. He's like, yeah, that's my sister. Okay, so now it was a cold call turned into a warm call.
Mm-hmm.
I showed the house and we made a deal for like 85 grand, which is 170 in volume if you get both sides. In 1985, that was really good. And the seller's attorney, Dave Murch, he's still out there, goes, oh, you should get him down to 5% since he's getting both sides. So I'm still mad at Dave Murch for that.
Oh, get out.
He owes me $850.
He owes you a little dough here, discounting
So,
that value like that.
Still mad. I hope Dave Murch sees this. But you know, it's just fun.
Send it to him directly. We can arrange for that to happen.
Okay. So he was great friends with, and still is, with Vince LaCastro. So, you know, we knew Dave really well. So that was fantastic. Double scoop, we call it in the White House. We call it double scoop. There's another agent at our office that calls it Cadillac in the deal, when you actually get both sides of the deal. So that was fun. I mean, it's exciting. You go home and it's like, I got five sales this month, when last year I had one. So I think the thing that I might not be an expert on is today's modern prospecting. So I wouldn't be the expert there, but I could say I'm the expert in, the negotiating and how to structure some of the deals. But the other cold calling story, and this one is just a wonderful story. So I'm not going to name the names because I don't want you calling them. But anyway, I made my 92nd phone call of the day, and the people were in Webster Village, and they said, come on over.
Wait, how many calls did you make before you got this?
92.
92. One day.
One day.
One day. Okay.
You go into the office and you call till you get an appointment.
You dial till you drop.
That's it. No quitting. And so I said to them, oh, thank you. Heart on my sleeve. Oh, thank you for the opportunity to meet with you. And I go over to their house and I look at the house, and they were thinking of moving to the city. Well, they decided not to move. I put them on my list. Back in the old days, we had a legal pad with names, and usually it was names of people that you had a sale with. That's all we had.
Mm-hmm.
Like
that was your database. Just
the business Christmas card list. So I kept in touch, annually, and they called me to sell their aunt's house. So I sold their aunt's house. And then 25, 30 years later, I get a call from their son, Joe. Yeah, my parents told me to call you. I want to buy a house.
25 years later.
Yep, from a single cold call. Yeah. And Joe was like on the set of The Big Bang Theory. There was like 4 nerds that all had 25% down. They're all 30 years old. They all had 25, 30% down, living with their parents. And so I sold 4 young guys houses.
Wow.
From work I did in 1985.
What a concept.
And so one of the things, the reason I say that is, it's a happy story for me, but if you can't bang through the first 2, 3, 4 years of this business, you don't know how it's going to go later. The first few years are the toughest in the business because you're a plumber, or you're a bartender at Empire Lanes, or you're whatever you're doing. People in your circle of influence don't consider you a real estate professional. Okay. So what I try to tell everybody is your friends and family or your circle of influence may not embrace you initially. So you have to shake that off. When Uncle Charlie lists their house with someone else and you're hurt, you got to be able to shake that off, because Uncle Charlie's got his old friend, realtor, and you're 25 years old and you've got 2 weeks in the business. That's Uncle Charlie's biggest asset, right? They might not entrust it to you. So you got to shake that off. And if you can rise above the newness and get through that first 2 or 3 or 4 years, and Uncle Charlie sees you succeeding without him, then your family and friends and circle of influence will come around. So my advice for the day is, sure, they're on your touch base list, but you have to be able to prevail without your family and friend business.
So wait, I hear you say it takes a huge level of mental tenacity to get through that for the first few layers of your first few years, especially when friends and family and coworkers are, all right, you're too new. I have a relationship already, blah, 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 blah. And yeah, that hurts at first, but it takes a level of mental tenacity, which obviously you were able to display. I'm curious, what was your support system like during those formative years when you were just getting through the layers?
I would go home and kick the dog.
Oh, he's not laughing. He's not laughing. Everybody. Can Cheryl hear that?
I do not have a dog. I would never kick the dog. But I think you got to shake it off. You got to shake it off. Anybody golfs, they're golfing a good round of golf, right? And then you get an 8. Okay? You're upset. You just got the snowman, right?
Yeah.
If you're pissed, if you're upset
about old double bogey, the snowman.
Right. If you're upset about that on the next hole, you're not going to do very well on the next hole.
You're in the weeds.
Right. So you got to shake that off. Everybody has a slump, a mental slump. Like, what's wrong with me? Like, what do I got BO or something? Nobody's hiring me. You got to get through that. Let's say you get an appointment and you don't know the people. If you don't know the people, they may be interviewing 2 other people.
Right.
So I say that's a 50% chance.
Mm-hmm.
So you think that's funny? You got 3 people. One of them is going to be idiot. Okay. Luckily. So it's between you and another idiot. An unprepared realtor, right? Maybe they're not an idiot, but I figure I'm better than one of those 2. Mm-hmm. So then it's going to boil down to me and another person. Okay. And which brings me to a Susan Glenn story. Okay. I could say this story because
let me find a seat. I got to sit down for a Susan Glenn story.
Okay. So I got a business opportunity on Maple Drive. A guy I went to high school with, his father passed away. And so he calls me up, and he called Susan up, and I think he called another person up, and he told me who he was interviewing. And, Susan's, pretty decent looking lady, right? And I think there was another lady that he talked about. So I leave the appointment, I leave my interview, and I say, now don't be hiring a realtor just because they're good looking. And I also offered $1,000 off commission in honor of his father's service in World War II. Because I was in the service, his father was in the service, and I thought that might be a feel-good thing to do. Probably $1,000 wasn't going to make or break this person's pocketbook, but I thought it was a way to maybe make a connection, because I was, I mentioned I was in the service, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he calls me up. He goes, "You got the listing, but you were the ugliest one." Okay.
So you killed him with the joke and honored his service.
Yeah. I mean, now there's some psychology there.
Right.
Okay. So I brought the psychology to that guy's attention, and maybe he might have said, maybe Jim's right. Okay. His office is close by. He's got years of experience. He offered a little token of appreciation to my father. So he teased me that I was the ugliest one of the three, and I laughed. I got the listing. I don't care.
Yeah.
So Susan and I can laugh about that when we chat. But those are little things, little relationship things that whenever you go out on an appointment, you got to be remembered. You got to do something to stand out. I had an offer on a house. I don't know if you guys have experienced this, but the offer included 2 sheet pizzas at closing.
I've seen that too. It comes off. I mean, please bear no offense if you hear this and you do this. It comes off a little gimmicky to me.
It is gimmicky, and the seller may think it was something to remember that person by. 2 sheet pizzas are probably worth about $1,500 now, but
given inflation.
But, if you have toppings,
and if you get delivery, it's another $500 for gas. Yeah.
So maybe it's a way, if you got 2 offers sitting there identical, maybe it's a help. Maybe the person will think it's gimmicky or salesman or tacky. I don't know, but everybody's trying to do something. Like if you're going to send out notes to for sale by owners, of course, or let's say expireds. Are there even expireds right now?
I think there's a few.
What if you I did this at one point. You put a lotto ticket in there, along with your business card. It doesn't take luck to sell real estate. It takes Lucas Hine. If you win $1 million,
All right. Am I going to owe you royalty if I use that now?
Go ahead.
I mean, this. Okay. I was going to say I might owe you royalty because this is being recorded.
There's business for everybody. There's business for everybody. Who cares? I mean, another question that you asked Mark is his percentage of repeat and referral.
Yeah.
I am 100%.
What a feat to say.
I do not spend a penny on marketing anymore.
Yeah.
So not that we're in the same category as a dentist, because they got a little more education than us, but think about your dentist or doctor. They go, we're not even taking patients on. Okay. That's a wonderful place to be. It's like, we're full. Okay. We're full. I give buyers to my son, Mike, who is my son. He's 37 now. I'll give him the young buyers, the buyers that are in my age category. I'll take them. But the next generation, I'll sit down with my son Mike with the buyer and give Mike the buyer, because that's a lot of work, as we all know.
Right.
Working with buyers right now, it's very,
especially
very
the
tough.
first timers.
So I want to get back to the Century 21 thing. Whatever brokerage you're at, it has to be a win-win between the associate and the broker. Once it's out of balance, that associate's going to leave. So the system that Century 21 had was called the open system, where your listings are at the front desk. There's a person on office duty. If a person got a call on my listing, they could pick up that buyer. Well, when I was a brand new rookie at Century 21, that was great because I got to legally steal leads. But then when there were my listings in there after a decade, it wasn't fun anymore.
Didn't feel good anymore.
Didn't feel the love anymore. And so then it was time to take off. Then I went to Remax because of the 95.5 thing. And I did 16 years at Remax, and it was a good experience. No big deal. I was standalone agent. I wasn't a team associate.
Did you go for any other reason besides the obviously the much higher split?
No other reason. I didn't want to even go. I didn't even want to leave my brokerage because I liked every one thing is you like the people that's why it's so hard to leave. You
Right,
got
right.
friends and relationships, and it was very hard for me to leave. I even told the two brokers, Vince and Doug, who were wonderful friends, I go, do a 95.5 concept. So I stayed on an extra year at Century 21, paying them the monthly fee and getting 95.5.
Wow.
But they didn't try to go that direction.
Gotcha.
So I gave them a year. They decided, maybe they were ready to go out to figure, they sold out to Hunt or whatever. So I went to Remax. I enjoyed it for 16 years. Then my son came on board with me at Remax, and then he was a rookie. So I was paying his fees and my fees. And one wonderful thing about Remax is I met my wife Cheryl there at Remax, who she didn't puke at that one.
No, I bet she got all googly eyed, like, oh, now he's throwing me in there.
So Cheryl wasn't an agent; she was the agent services person that does all those things that the agents need. So that was my prize from Remax, and so together with Cheryl doing the office administration and me being an associate, we felt good about, doing a little company. So, but the thing is, when I had to pay for Mike's fees, that was my disconnect, was so I have to pay extra to grow. You guys will share in the growth profit without breaking a sweat. That's not fair. That's not fair. So that's when I started looking over the fence. It's like, okay, I'm not happy now, because it wasn't a win-win. I only went to, other than the month or two at the first place, I did a long period of time at whatever the brokerage is. So I didn't want to work out of my house with a shingle in the yard. I wanted a little spot. That's why we rented on Empire Boulevard with the brilliant idea of calling it Empire Realty Group, because we were right there on Empire, which was a great thing because it's franchise-like,
right,
without being a franchise. So that's fast forward 10 years, and agents have joined us.
Yeah,
we're a little bit different. We're kind of an independent agents that just want to be left alone, a little bit independent. A lot of people are going to the Keller because of structure and training and all these tools to get a newer associate going. And that's really, really good. I have no problem with Keller. And so that's why I'm willing to talk to you. I don't think I'd want to go talking with a company that I didn't feel comfortable with,
right.
Have respect for, as Cheryl just said. I think you guys are doing fantastic. There's no denying it. The young people are happy to join there, and I think the team thing is good for a brand new agent because they get some of the structure. They get some leads and whatnot in a very competitive thing. The only thing I don't like about the teams is after a while, the associate wants to make a name for themselves. So after a while, they might break away on their own. But certainly, it's kind of like the old setup at Century 21,
right,
wrapped up as a team. Because when I was at Century 21, the sign said Century 21. It didn't say Jim White. It was very different back in those days. So, the team, I'm sure you get to put your name right or on the sign now and whatnot.
Right. The team in and of itself is essentially what the traditional brokerage, what you described, what Century 21 was like. It essentially is, depending on how the team, we call them rainmakers, team leader, team rainmaker, decides how they want to structure their team. It essentially is the idea of the traditional brokerage within the Keller Williams ecosystem that is highly interdependent. We have all of the resources and they're there available for you. It's kind of like the outlet. If an outlet doesn't have something plugged into it, it is just sitting there useless. But once you've plugged into it, you've powered your device, right?
Right. Yeah.
So it really, it's a beautiful system because it gives that agent the opportunity, like you said, it gives the agent that opportunity to grow and bloom where they're planted. And you're right. Oftentimes agents will get into the business. They'll decide that they want to be on a team because of a whole host of reasons, and then they'll outgrow. And with the support of their team leader, they'll outgrow and they'll grow their own brand. So we're highly interdependent. And, I respect the way that you run Empire so much because the agents that I talk to that are with you are happy. They're happy with the support. They're happy with the independence that you award them. So, and I do want to point out something that you said there. When you were talking about the moment that you left Remax to start your own thing, it was a pivotal moment. I think that the pivot was when you realized that if you want to continue to grow with bringing Cheryl on board, bringing your son on board, that Remax was going to make out way too nicely based on your efforts and growth. So I just want to point that out. That seemed to be the pivot. Am I right?
Right. So not to throw Remax under the bus, but
not at all.
There's fees associated with that particular franchise. And so they set up the junior associate, let's say, to not have to pay those fees, and hopefully their sales will pay those fees.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that didn't happen for Mike. He didn't have the sales that year. And then suddenly I had to make up that loss. And so the broker's like, okay, we need $2,100 from you.
Oh, geez.
And I'm like, well, I hope you enjoy the heck out of it. Because that was the straw that broke the camel's back. And so my rent was like $1,200 plus another 2 or 3 for Mike. We opened Empire. The rent was $550 at the 3 rooms we rented
for the bill. Okay, I was going to say for the building of the rooms.
Right. We started with just 3 rooms. I just wanted to have a conference room to meet people, have a room for the copier and then a little reception. That's all we wanted. We had no expectation of growing a company. And I think that's the most wonderful part of this whole thing is I've gotten to meet so many people. I love to coach. You talk about coaching, Lucas, and I love it. And agents call me, I answer the phone, Empire hotline. I'm happy to answer those questions. I want to answer those questions. And it's kind of like an evolution from being a brand new agent to now being the old guy. Because I was 23 years old. I was the new guy. And now after 38 years in the business, I'm still not super old. I'm just 61. I'm kind of old, but not super old.
You're a young 61.
I'm still in the game. I'm still out there banging out the deal of the week.
That's right.
I love to be in the trenches, and I don't want to let my client base go. I think if I had to give anybody any advice, your client base is your pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. One thing Lucas and I talked about pre-game, pre-video here, is if you love what you do, it shows. And if you're just out to just get cash, or you want to be the biggest agent on the planet, just
accolades, recognition, whatever,
for your ego, you'll probably ruin your marriage or your personal life because you're so focused on the prize. I always like to equate it to a bodybuilder on the cover of a magazine. All right. That person obviously is dedicating their life to bodybuilding, right? Now, I could take my shirt off and you'll know that I'm not dedicated to bodybuilding. That was a joke. Okay. So
I was trying not to laugh. I was trying
Okay.
to cut you a little slack right here
All
and
right,
there. I'm
so-
like, what are you talking about? You would look great.
I got a 6-pack right under the 12-pack. But
It's
just
a keg. That's what we
It's-
call it. It's a keg.
okay. It's a little keg. But if you think about the person that wants to be on the cover of a magazine, Arnold Schwarzenegger wants it to be Mr. Universe.
Right.
And if you watch Arnold's video about his journey, he wanted to be Mr. Universe when everybody said, no, you're what are you crazy?
Yeah.
Being Mr. Universe. But he was in the gym working out, doing 500-pound squats, 500-pound bench presses with a smile on his face. And people were saying, Arnold, why are you smiling? That has to be torture. He goes, because it's getting me closer to my goal.
Pleasure and the pain of growth.
Amazing.
I love it. I love it.
So if you love what you do, you help people honestly, sincerely, they're going to call you back.
Right.
Now there's agents that spend lots of money to get new clients. Here's another word of wisdom I'm going to say. People spend too much time trying to get what they don't have instead of taking care of what they do have. Okay? Take care
It's a
of
writer
what you
downer.
have. Take care of your client base. One particular trainer told me that you get about 10% of what's on your client base. How many people do you want on your client base? I have approximately 500 people. I do approximately a deal a week. That's 50 deals, 52 deals. Now, one thing I told Lucas is not about the numbers or how much money you make, because we're all making a living, right? And there's always someone doing way better than you, and there's always someone doing way worse than you. But I found a sweet spot for myself and a balance. I can do a deal a week. I give the deal, once I get a deal, I give it to Cheryl to do the admin work. I don't have to do that. I'm not working myself to death trying to do way more than possible.
Do you ever see yourself working yourself out of production?
Well, there's going to be a time where you're not good anymore. What year is that going to be? You know, where my son is going to go, Dad, just stay home, okay?
You're waiting
just
for the
stay-
cue.
You've lost your edge. I still feel like I'm at the top of my game. You know, I feel that when you train, Lucas, you do training, you're reviewing stuff that you know, and you still learn when you train, because someone in your training session will go, "You're wrong, Lucas. That's wrong," and you'd be like, "Oh."
That, by the way, is when you are coaching and training, and your coachee and your trainees are challenging you. That is the moment that you know you're doing a great job. Just for everybody out there thinking about that they would like to train someday.
So one interesting thing is the contingent offers. So you rookies out there from
What is a
2019
contingent offer?
2019 on don't know what a contingent offer is. But anyway, if you get a contingent offer and you've satisfied all your contingencies, there's a form called preservation of transfer of title. If you get that signed, you can't get bumped anymore. You've said I've satisfied all my contingencies. I'm still subject to transfer of title, and you can't bump me anymore. Well, I had the listing one time and I was coaching the buyer's agent. I go, you know, you're probably at the point now where you should present that form. And she's like, what's that? I'm like, that helps you from getting bumped. And so anyway, the reason I talk about it is, Adam, I'm doing a Zoom, so Don't say anything bad. My son just showed up. So Mary Jo Fess, who's a wonderful realtor and friend at the office, she told me about that form. I didn't know about that form. After the meeting, she goes, "I'm sorry if I made you look bad." I'm like, "Well, I'll get over it, but I'm smarter now than I was, this morning." So when you keep training and keep networking with people in your field, it can only improve. So one of the things that I have from 1985 is this piece of paper. I built.
You wrote that in 1985. That paper is.
It's been in my desk since 1985. It's from Floyd Wickman.
Wow.
And in bold, it says a quitter never wins and a winner never quits. And if you're trying to be in real, see you, son. If you're trying to be a successful realtor and you quit, you'll never know. You didn't get through that couple of years. Here's another one. A man is never whipped until he quits in his own mind.
Wow.
In a football game, you run out of time. Okay, you lost the game. Right. But the season's not over. Okay, if you quit, you quit. This is so old that it says successful men. Nowadays, I would have to say successful human beings. And however you, whatever, I shouldn't go there. Successful people in all callings never stop acquiring specialized knowledge related to their major purpose, business, or profession. This is from 1985. Another thing, this is something George Eastman said. Anything acquired without effort and without cost is generally unappreciated. So when people get those stimulus checks, they didn't really do anything for them. They go blow their money, or you get stuff, your parents give you a new bike every 6 months because you're a spoiled brat. You're probably not going to take care of that bike.
How often do you take that piece of paper out and look at it and remind yourself of those wise words?
Pretty often. I have a room upstairs. It's called the Elvis room. It's all Elvis stuff. And nice. In that center drawer, I open that drawer and it sits there to remind me. So one thing that agents can do is they can get a little down in the dumps. So what I tell the agents to do is write notes to the people that you had some business with. You'll feel better. Wow. I don't know if it's Keller or you guys probably know Brian Buffini.
Absolutely, yeah.
5 notes a day, 5 notes a day.
Yep.
So I was just challenging an agent at the office. I'm like, give me 3 notes a day. Promise yourself 3 notes a day. If you go and say to people, "Hi, dear Lucas, I hope this note finds you well. I appreciate the opportunity to work with you earlier this year. Just want to, dear Lucas, I hope this note finds you well. I just want to let you know that our company celebrated its 10th year. Thanks to folks like you that supported me over the years. Thank you."
Simple.
Enclose are a couple cards. If you get a chance to refer me, I would be grateful. How long is it going to take to write 3 of those?
Well, it only took you about 15 seconds to say it.
Right. We went to see that Mo Anderson, yep. Right? She said, most of you people aren't going to do anything I tell you. She goes, it's sad. I'm starting my seminar and most of you people aren't going to do anything. Now, you look at the production of agents. There's agents with big production, big team production. I don't know what a good single production is. I've seen some people with high, 80, 90 deals as a single agent. That's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. Okay? Yep.
So that didn't come out of nowhere. What are they doing? Then you have so many people 2, 3 deals. Okay. So you can be in the real estate business. You can have 2 or 3 sales from Aunt Betty, Uncle Joe, and your friend from high school. Hoop-de-doo. Okay. Maybe you made $10,000 or $15,000. But I'm going to tell you something that Floyd Wickman said in 1985. Everybody has a guts gauge. How gutsy was it to get those 3 deals? Aunt Betty was going to list with you. That's your godmother, okay? It didn't take any guts to list it. I want to tell another story about the guts gauge, because when we did that Floyd Wickman, it was over 12 weeks. We had to go every Tuesday to Buffalo. So here we are in Rochester working on a day less because we're in Buffalo one day.
Yep.
If we didn't get a listing that week, we had to wear a hat that said "No, but I will" on it.
What did it say? No, but I will.
No, but I will, because I
No,
didn't
but
get
I
a
will.
listing. I
Wow.
failed that week.
Yeah.
You should have seen me on Monday night, man. I'm at a house. I'm like, sign. Come on. Here's
You're not wearing that hat.
Yeah. Please give me a shot. It made me, it metamorphosized me into a closer because I didn't want to wear that hat. And Floyd said, you got to have guts. So here's a story, my top gut story. I sold a house on DeWitt Road, the one that I left Century 21 for because an agent stole it off office duty. So I go down the street to an expired, knock on the door and say, hey, I just sold that house. I'm awesome.
Yeah.
I just sold your house expired. I sold that one. So I got an appointment. I go see the lady. I do my presentation. She says to me, well, I got a couple more. I got another agent to interview before I make my decision. And, I'll get back to you. And I said, I'll tell you what, if you list with me now, I'll call that agent and cancel that appointment. Do you have any questions or concerns from what our meeting? Do you agree with our plan of attack and whatnot? Yeah, no problem. Okay, if you list with me now, I'll call that agent and cancel.
Where did
Guess
you
what?
learn? Did you learn that from the Floyd Wickman?
Well, I knew that my you-know-what was grass if I left that house.
Yep.
Because some other agent's coming this afternoon or tomorrow, and they're the last one in the door.
Yep.
Okay, I should have said, let me be the last agent in. Or I should have said, make sure all the principals there. These are things you learn by making mistakes.
Yeah.
But I knew Floyd said, have some guts. All right. So I ratcheted up the guts gauge.
Yeah.
She
That
goes, okay.
saying that it takes guts.
Took a
And
little guts.
yeah,
I listed the house.
I asked it if you just came up with that on your own, you may have just invented that concept, because that's a concept that when I was teaching our Ignite series a lot, and back when we were calling on FSBOs and expireds pre-COVID, oftentimes we would tell agents, like, you're probably going to be competing on a for sale by owner or an expired listing. And that is a strategy. If you're not the last one in the door, that's a strategy that you can use. And it has worked for people in the past.
What does a car dealer say to the car salesman?
I don't know.
If that
what to
customer
say.
walks out the door, they're not coming
They're
back.
not buying a car.
Right. They're not. They're going to the next person. They're never coming back.
Yeah.
So here's the fun part. I listed the house. I said, give me that person's name. She goes, nah, don't worry about it. My father just didn't want me to make it too easy on you. I'm like, really? There wasn't
They
even
were
another
testing.
person.
They were testing your guts gauge.
What if I go, okay, I respect that. Okay, have a nice day. Bye.
Yep.
Unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
I was like empowered. Here's another close. This was a long time ago. It was off Merchants Road. The guy goes, I know, I'm sitting at his house. He goes, I know a lot of realtors. Why should I list with you? I go, because my ass is right here. He goes, okay.
I'm the one right here, right now. What
I'm
are we
right
doing?
here.
Are we
I'm right
dancing?
here.
Sign.
I'm right here.
I love that.
Okay, so there's one point I want to make to agents out there is I think an important part of maybe why you're talking to me. I am no dynamic person. Okay. Now you had Mark Seawick on last time. I looked at your video with him.
Mhm.
I think he's a dynamic personality.
He's
I don't
got
know
some
where he
dynamite.
I don't know where he learned the ropes and whatnot, but you know, you hear he would be sending people flowers and he would be doing all these fantastic things that I didn't do or didn't know about. And so sometimes if you're an average Joe, you go, oh, that person's dynamic. They're just naturally dynamic. Brian Buffini, real handsome, big shoulders, nice accent.
Irish accent. I was gonna say it melts your heart.
So you go, well, this guy's just a dynamic. He's lucky. He's good looking. He's dynamic. Well, I don't think I had anything going in. I didn't know squat. I guess the one thing that I could say about me is people trust me, and that's nice. And maybe I'm down to earth and relatable or knowledgeable, but I didn't consider myself dynamic, right? Like Mark, hearing his story, you know, he went to college first. I didn't. You know, I always say the college people seem to get out of the gate with more of a business head, but I had no mentor. I'm not a second generation realtor. I started out square one, $900 the first year, floundering just like everybody. So all I want to say is you can develop over time and believe in yourself. I think the most important thing is to believe in yourself and believe what you can achieve. Because if you don't believe it, it can't be done.
Amen.
Okay?
Amen.
If you, there's another guy, watch some Bob Proctor. Bob Proctor talks about the conscious mind and the unconscious mind. That your brain is already limited so much by the time you're 4 years old. Okay. Let's say there's something that's ridiculous that you want. I want to own the Buffalo Bills. That's probably not going to happen. Okay. All right. So the fact that I'm probably not going to own the Buffalo Bills, I could just put it right out of my mind, right? No sense wasting time on that. But what if I said I want to go from 50 deals a year to 70 deals a year? Now I've just told my unconscious mind something that I want. Now my unconscious mind is going to go, okay, buddy, what are you going to do? All right, you've been doing the same production all these years, which is fine. You're making a good living, and you started an office, and you're a broker owner now, and you're doing all this stuff. I'm happy where I am. But if I said to myself, I want to get to the next level, I want 70 deals instead of 50 deals. You're telling your unconscious mind what you want. Your unconscious mind is going to say, okay, how are you going to do it? That's what's good about reading these pieces of paper. That's what's good about, you know, you have a goal on your desk at home. This is what I want. That opens up your subconscious to how, okay? And I think that's, if I had any lesson for any newer associate, write down what you want. It sounds stupid, right? Oh, what's that going to do? But if you see it every day, I want 20 more deals than I'm doing this year. Every day, I want 20. I want a cup of coffee. I have a cup of coffee. I sit down at my desk. I want 20 more deals. Okay, I guess I can't just sit here and hope and pray for 20 more deals. Maybe I gotta buy some leads. Maybe I gotta network with somebody. Maybe I need to have business lunches with my attorney friend that doesn't give me any deals, and say to the attorney friend, hey buddy, I bring you my deals, could throw me a bone. Okay. So I told you, Lucas, I would have no problem talking.
We knew this going in. It's okay. You prepared me. We knew this. We knew about
one seminar I went to. I got really mad because I am mild mannered, right? I'm not that aggressive dynamic. I'm mild mannered. So I would bring my banker business, and my bank friend wasn't bringing me business. And my lawyer I was using wasn't bringing me business. And the insurance person and the inspector. After the seminar, I was upset. I cut my banker off for a year. He was a good friend. I cut him off. Why aren't you working with me anymore? Well, because you're giving leads to all these other people, and just because I'm not obnoxious in demanding leads, I'm out in the cold. So you throw me a bone. And then I went to, and I'm not, that's out of my personality, right? But I went to that seminar and it awakened that, right?
Right.
Then I went to the lawyer who is retired. And I said, hey, I bring you all these deals and you don't bring me any. And then he said, well, by the time I get the contracts, are a done deal. I go, okay, I get it, but just keep that in mind.
It doesn't mean he doesn't have friends,
Well, after I had that meeting, I got 2 listings a year from him till he retired because I asked for the business.
You can't get what you don't ask for, and
you got to ask. You got to ask for it. Yeah.
We must hold our partners accountable for those leads.
Okay, I'm gonna take a break and give you a chance to talk.
You're fine to this. Hey, this interview is about you. So listen, I've learned a ton from this conversation, and I do have one question that's been burning, but I want to open up and see if Chris has anything that she would like to ask. She's been a faithful follower of my interview show, so she will always have that opportunity.
She must not have cable.
No, I don't have any questions. I know quite a few people who are at Empire, and they're very happy. And I know you have different options for different types of people depending upon what their current strategy is. I don't have any questions.
All right.
Well, how long have you been a realtor, Chris?
8.5 years.
Well, that's a very good amount of time. So you're over the pain and suffering part.
Yeah, pretty
Are you
much.
trying to grow?
No. At this point, I'm like you are, referrals and current and past clients and etc.
So one thing that they used to tell, one broker used to tell the other broker, because one of my brokers used to say that the other broker was an order taker, meaning
we've heard that
people
before.
call in, you take the order. Well, that doesn't come by automatic. If Chris is taking care of her people and they like you and trust you, you're going to keep getting repeat and referral.
That's right.
And I think, no matter how the technology changes over time, I didn't say anything new about how agents are prospecting today. I'm behind the 8 ball on that because I am the old person. Now, there's a lot of people my age group. I'm 61. There's people my age group really tapering off. I'm always monitoring the computer, seeing what people's production is. And there's people my age that are, maybe they save their money and they can retire now, God bless them, but they're tapering back because they can. But as a younger agent, if you can nurture that client base, no matter how society changes, your people are going to go to you. It doesn't matter if, they're having dinner with their parents and their parents are like, call Chris, she's honest and will take care of you. Someone might have been on the internet looking at stuff, and people off the internet are trying to track them down, but you don't know those people from a bag of beans. So do you want to be one of 3 in an interview because you're paying for leads somehow? Do you want to be one of 3? Like I said, one of them's an idiot, so it's 50-50 chance you get the account. Or do you want the call? Hi, Lucas, come on over. Come on over. Can I say one more story that I gotta say? I'll keep names out of it.
Jim, you can tell as many stories as you want. We have no time constraint. Well, I don't. Chris might, but
I was after a big listing. I sold this guy's house. he built. I was not involved in the build. Now he calls me to interview. Now, I was his realtor, but he calls me for an interview. I'm like, okay. And it's a little higher end of a house, probably higher end than what I'm used to getting. I made a kind of a mistake. I was honest. The house next door sold for $441,000. His house was very similar. This is a number of years ago, because now 441,000 gets you a little 1,000 square foot ranch. But anyway, I got a little Italian in me. Am I allowed to say that? My mom was a Del Vecchio. Okay, my mom's a Del Vecchio. So who's good friends with your wife's parents?
Yep, that's how we have that connection.
So he goes, what are you going to do to sell the house? And the little Italian came out, and I go, I'll tell you what, I'm going to price it right in the first place. And I didn't get the listing.
Oh.
So the listing started from 600 to 550 to 499 to 450 to 399. Now they're 50,000 below what it was worth because they did it all wrong. Okay, so that agent got the commission, although didn't do the seller very well.
Wow.
Would you agree?
Definitely.
So now that guy, his name is Pete, who now lives in Florida, calls me up. He goes, I'd like you to sell my dad's house. He goes, meet me there and bring your paperwork. So I never did the man wrong. I was honest. I didn't get the listing. The hot shot who got the listing, who started at the big price,
Yep.
it got him 50,000 less than the house next door because they did it wrong.
Yep.
Didn't get the future business. Now, when I got to meet Pete at his father's house, I didn't say anything about it, and he didn't say anything about it. Nothing needed to be said, but he knew I was an average agent. Average maybe means honest, maybe is average. Okay, because again, do you need to be the biggest shark in the ocean? No, I don't need to be the biggest shark in the ocean. I'm taking care of, I'm doing better than I ever hoped and dreamed. Okay, let's just say that.
That's awesome.
And on my gravestone, they're going to say, Jim was a nice guy. So one thing I was telling Lucas yesterday about numbers, accolades and awards and all that. When your time is up, who cares? Who cares? Okay. It's your journey. Make the best of your journey and your family, and treat your family good. Treat the people in your world good. If you can be in the top 100 agents, that probably puts you in the top 5% agents. You don't have to be number one, because usually number one is not got a balanced life. Let's just say that.
Right.
You want to have a family, you need to go to the family events, you need to raise your children, you need to do the things that are meaningful to you. And you're going to make a really nice, solid living and a solid life. And when you are dying, like I told Lucas yesterday, if I'm on my deathbed, my wife's not going to whisper, hey man, sales are up 15% from last year. That's really fantastic. I don't think that's going to be a thing. And your family's going to be there going, you took care of us really good. You know, you loved your family, you know, and that's what it's about. And if you can share that with people in your real estate world, they're going to keep calling you back. And you know what? They don't mind paying you.
Right.
Yep. After being in the business so long, people aren't really working me for commission. So here's advice agents, if you can't get 6% when the seller's getting 80,000 over list, what are you going to do in 2024 when they're upside down on the house? Okay, they owe 300, the house is now worth 270. Good luck getting 6% then, right? I just got a lady, 83,000 over list. Now I listed it for 5% already at the beginning.
Yep.
Because she had just bought a house. I did a lot of business with her. And I'm like, listen, I want to do 5% for you. We get her 80,000 extra. And she goes, can you do it for 5%? And I'm like, well, I already offered that to you. I already did. She's like, oh, okay. But you give when you feel like it. I never got a thank you note for giving 1% off. Okay. People are probably wanting to commit suicide right now, but here's another story. There was an old man from Century 21. I used to know him from Century 21. Now he's old. He calls me to list his house. His name is Tom. Wonderful human being. I'm going to list the house. Now, one good thing for my old broker, he's like, Jim, quit giving percents away. A percent is 33%, right?
Right.
You're giving away $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. Maybe you just give away 1,000 or like that $1,000 military discount or something.
Yeah.
So I was with this old man, Tom, and he goes, I was a realtor, I should get a break on commission. And I said, Tom, whatever you want. Name the discount. He goes, I want $500 off. I go, you got it.
Okay, we can work that out.
What did I learn? What did we learn? People want to feel special.
Yeah.
That's all. He just wanted to feel special. He didn't need, the house was probably 150 back then. He didn't need 15,000 because his chimney needed $4,000 worth of work.
Oh, Lord.
Because that was one of the Keller agents. She's a Keller now. Sold it. I can't remember her name, but she was with Walther at the time. A long time ago. Anyway, you were able to get an engineer inspection in those days, and the chimney needed work. So I told Tom the chimney needs $4,000 worth of work. He's like, oh, whatever. So it wasn't about the dollars.
It rarely is, right?
And like I said, I never got a thank you note for giving someone $4,000 off.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They even forget about it. They forget about it. I gave a lady 1,000 or 1% off a week ago, or before the delayed negotiation, and she forgot. Bizarre. But I think if you do your best for your people, you're fiduciary.
Yep.
And they like you, they don't mind if you get paid.
Well, I like I said before I asked Chris, I've learned a lot, and I've definitely learned a lot about how you have, you say this, so these aren't my words. You grew Empire to as big as it is today, sort of by accident, just kind of happenstance. And I can see how and why you're able to attract such top talent. So I appreciate you. And I hope that our listeners get a ton out of this, because like I said before, I've gotten a lot and I've learned a lot from this conversation with you. And I really do just truly, truly appreciate you coming on this show. And I don't know how much you get this, but I want to just say publicly, thank you for your service, for the time that you spent in the Navy. That means a lot to me. I have a lot of family that were in the service of some sorts. And, my father-in-law served in Vietnam. So thank you from me and all of Keller Williams.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
All right,
I
Jim.
hope I didn't make this too darn long. I mean, whatever.
No. You're quite all right. But again, I appreciate your time, and I hope that all of our listeners get a lot out of this interview, because I certainly did.
Anytime, if you got a topic you want to delve into, I'm happy to talk.
We'll bring you in. All right.
Okay.
All right,
Thank you,
thanks
guys.
again. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Jim White, just giving it to us like he said he was going to. And now, fair warning, he did tell me he did warn me fairly before we started the interview that he's a little long-winded. We all know that about him. And he did go off on several bunny trails. But listen, as the interviewer, I didn't want to stop him. I didn't want to stop his momentum because he was telling some great stories. And geez, I learned so much. You learn so much from somebody who's been in the business for so long. They started before technology was a thing. They started when, people opened up the MLS, the multiple listing service was a book that people opened up. And if somebody wanted to look at the house, they went to an office or they received a phone call. So it's just amazing how the business has evolved and someone like Jim can just remain successful through it. So I hope you all enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next podcast. Thanks.